All right, we can go ahead and get started. Welcome to the Special Committee of the Whole. It is Tuesday, May 6th at 6:30 p.m. Can I get a roll call?
Finkler.
Here.
Hammer.
Here.
Lawson.
Here.
Meyer.
Here.
Reed.
Here.
Relke.
Here.
Rostad.
Here.
I acknowledge this meeting was posted and noticed according to law.
All right, I'll take a motion to approve the agenda.
So move. I'll second.
First by Alder Rostad and a second by Alder Meyer. Any discussion? All those that approve? All in favor, sorry.
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone against? All right, committee minutes to file. So we have the committee minutes for the Hillside Cemetery for 3/24/25, 4/14/25, HLPC for 3/25/25, Library for 3/18/25, Public Spaces for 3/10/25, and 4/14/25. We'll move on to public comment. We're actually going to have the proclamation for honoring the Columbus archery team, and then we'll go to public comment.
So if there's anybody from the archery team that wants to come up, and then I can present the proclamation to them. Coaches as well, so if you just want to stand right here. Okay. So whereas the sport of archery teaches discipline, focus, perseverance, and sportsmanship, enriching the lives of all ages, and whereas the Columbus archery team has exemplified these qualities through their hard work, determination, and commitment to excellence throughout the 2024-2025 season, and whereas the Columbus archery team achieved a historic victory by sweeping the 2025 NASP Wisconsin State Bullseye Tournament, bringing great honor and pride to the city of Columbus, and whereas the outstanding achievements of Columbus archery serve as an inspiration to our community, demonstrating the rewards of teamwork, practice, and dedication. And whereas it is fitting and proper to recognize and celebrate their contributions and accomplishments of these exceptional athletes and their coaches. Now therefore be it proclaimed that I, Mayor Joseph Hammer, Mayor of the City of Columbus, Wisconsin, do hereby proclaim May 10th, 2025 as Columbus Archery Day in the city of Columbus, and encourage all citizens to join in honoring the Columbus Archery team's extraordinary success and the spirit of excellence they bring to our community. Dated this day, the 6th of May of 2025. So congratulations. Thank you. And tomorrow morning, they will be heading off at 9 o'clock to Nationals, still in Louisville, correct?
Correct, yes.
And I pulled out my shirt from the first time that we got to Nationals, and it was 2015. So
2015.
yeah, so I'll wear that tomorrow when I show up. So.
Great.
All right, thanks much. Thanks much to all the coaches too.
Good luck.
Thank you.
All right, we can move on to public comment then. Just a reminder that we do have a 3-minute limit per individual that speaks at public comment, and we have John Trava.
Yes.
I'm like, which one are we? You can head up and then just turn on there's a little face. Hit that button.
Right there. Can you hear me now? Yep. Okay, great. Good evening. My name's John Trava. I am a Columbus resident. We're over kind of in the industrial part of town over by the Amtrak. And 3 years ago, my family decided to raise chickens. We tried to do it the right way. We filed for a permit. The city cashed the check but never responded to me. So I thought, hey, I think we're good. I ordered 4 hens from the hatchery, and I built a proper coop and a run. When I went to order, I found out that the hatchery actually had a minimum order of 5 chickens. You couldn't get less than 5. and they also couldn't verify the gender. So we ordered the minimum, try to comply as best we could, and they sent us 3 extra chicks. So we're already up to 8 chickens. And I really didn't have the heart to get rid of the babies. So sure enough, 2 of them turned out to be roosters. You typically have a 50% chance. They really can't tell until about 3 months in, until they start crowing. And again, we didn't know until they started crowing between 4 and 5 months old. I tried to rehome them, but couldn't, so I had to remove them. I had no experience ever culling an animal, but I was supposed to get rid of them, so I looked it up on YouTube. Please, nobody ever do that. That is not a good way to do it. Ask a hunter or a farmer. They'll teach you much better than Jose did. Over time, a few of our chickens passed away, and we had to replace them because we were now down lower. And we ended up with a few extra. 1 here, 1 there. Every chick that we bought, 50% chance of being a rooster. Now, I live on an acre. I have a river and a park on one side, a creek and a vacant lot behind me, train tracks and vacant land on the other side. And beyond that is the Vita plant along with the Amtrak station. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, we're basically all by ourselves out there, and we thought we weren't bothering anybody. I'm not asking for chaos. I'm asking for flexibility. As a zoning committee member, I understand the importance of codes and laws, and I believe we can craft an ordinance that is fair and considerate of things like lot size and neighbor proximity.
All right.
I'll finish
Thank
up
you.
real quick. Just 1 sentence.
1 sentence, yep.
Yes, I've given you guys a proposal for possibly a setup, and I'm just hoping that you guys might consider it.
Thank you. All right, that's all that we had signed up for public comment. Would anybody else that didn't get an opportunity to sign up like to speak? All right, we will move on to new business. Within new business, I just want to preface this for a second here. We did have a couple questions about ordinances coming on to the COW. We do have an agreement on how we're going to be using committees and commissions more and having ordinances go there first. One of the things that was discussed about items 3, 4, and 5 is that they were specifically asked to be brought by a council member, so they were brought onto this meeting. However, they should be going to the Plan Commission first. So I'm not sure how much comment we need to be having tonight on it because it should be going to Plan Commission. We may just be referring to Plan Commission. Number 6 does not have a committee or commission to go to. So that one we will be discussing tonight more in detail. And one of the things also that I wanted to note is that on a future committee of the whole agenda, we will be talking about processes and procedures because it was unsure how to handle the ordinances brought forward that were specifically requested by a council member. And instead of going to the committee, didn't want anybody to feel dismissed. So that will be coming up in the future on how we can handle that better as we're adjusting to this new way of things. So with that said, the first item is discussion regarding chicken ordinance, section 14-19 of the municipal code. Does anybody want to have discussion on this or have any comments or move it to Plan Commission to discuss further? Alder Rolke?
I personally think that this one belongs here because of timeliness issues. It is the season where people are getting chicks, and I know that there are a lot of people in town who already have chickens. I know there are a lot more who are thinking about it this year as the cost of everything, especially eggs, is so prohibitive. It's actually much cheaper to just raise chicks yourself than to buy eggs. So I would like to see this conversation here tonight for the purpose of expedience and getting this adjusted for members of our community.
Alder Reed?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I also would like to discuss it for timeliness sake tonight. I don't know if we'll have a decision, but I'd like to discuss.
Okay. How do you want to handle this, Joe? Should we, if everybody agrees to discussing it now, then we skip, like, or Matt, how are we going to handle that? Because we've agreed upon going to Plan Commission first.
Well, Chief Weiner's done a lot of research on this based on other communities' ordinances and talked with other police departments, and encourage you to maybe give him a chance to speak to some of his findings first and then see where the discussion goes from there.
Perfect. Chief?
Good evening. Recently, when some chicken-related issues came to our attention, I decided to reach out to other communities. I'm a member of the Wisconsin Chiefs of Police Association, and they have a message board that is very helpful to other communities. So I posted a message asking for a generic kind of summary of different communities, and I heard back from 13 different communities. I talked about number of chickens allowed, were roosters allowed, and I think that was pretty much it. That was kind of the heart of my issue based on, what we were dealing with. The pretty much average of the 13 were 4 chickens per residence. Some communities incorporated the number of chickens into the total animals allowed at the residence. So like if you had 2 dogs and a cat, you could only have 1 chicken. The total animals at a property was defined to 4. There were some very generic ordinances out there and some very, very detailed ones that were pretty complex. But as far as the numbers, I'd say of the 13, probably 4.5 was the average. The most was 8. That was one department or one community. Another was 6, and for the most part, all the others were 4. And that was kind of the heart of the issue of what we're looking at. And none of them allowed roosters.
Alder Lawson?
Did anyone mention a different maximum based upon lot size?
Nothing.
No.
Alder Rostad?
Anyone close to us that got back to you, community-wise?
I have the notes written down of who it was in my
No, that's fine.
satchel. Portage, and there were others, but there were some not in this area, but there were some in the area. I can't remember. Like I said, I haven't written down. I just don't have them in hand.
Thank you.
Mayor Hammer?
I did check out Hartford only allows 4, Portage allows 6, Sun Prairie 4, Lake Mills 6, Waupun I couldn't find a count on. Waterloo doesn't allow it. At least I could not find an ordinance or any type of permitting on it. So 4 to 6 for a number seems to be,
Yep, it's
and
consistent with
again,
what I
all
have
of
as well.
them are no roosters in their ordinances, so.
Alder Rostad?
Just a correction on the mayor. Waterloo does, it's new, so that's why it's not posted. But they're in the trial period, so that's probably why you didn't find it either. They allow 4. The only question I have, I guess, any of the places you checked or chief checked, like I work in the city of Waterloo, so I understand their ordinance. We only allowed 4 people, 4 families to have chickens. They did, the city. Is there a limit in anything that came back to you? Like 10 families are allowed to do it?
No, there was no cap on the
Okay.
number of any of them that
Or
I saw.
permits issued? Yeah, we went by 4 permits, so.
And there was 1 or 2 communities that were really, really deep into this with like filing a notice with the Department of Agriculture and down to as easy as filling out a form. So quite a gamut.
The only one that I noticed was City of Waupun, total of 10 for residential, so 10 permits for the whole city, so.
Alder Lawson?
Do we know how many licenses we've issued for chickens in Columbus? 1?
There's got to be way more than that.
We issued one, we issued one license last year, and as of this year, nobody has renewed.
Any other questions for Chief Weiner? Or any other discussion on this or recommendations for proceeding?
I would
Matt?
just add in conversation with staff, one of the initial proposal on basing it on the space allowed in the coop per, I think it was the agricultural guidelines, what Amy had suggested. It makes a lot of sense on the surface until it gets down to enforcement. And if there is a concern brought by a neighbor, I don't know that we have anyone on staff that's trained in those guidelines and regulations and it's not to say that it can't be done. It just adds another layer of enforcement when we do have a concern raised in terms of now we've got to get out and measure a coop and look at the guidelines and interpret the guidelines and figure out what is the right number, right? And so it's just another layer if we were to look into that as a permit requirement. Staff's consensus was a number is much easier to enforce than something that's more vague.
Alder Reed?
Thank you. Yeah, I definitely did not want to go by the agricultural guidelines, which were something like 36 chickens can fit in a 12 by 12 coop. That would not function at all on a city level. I'm open to having some type of permitting, some type of way, depending on lot size and distance from neighbors for having 8. I don't know how to start, what city to compare for language, but I would like to look into it.
Alder Rolke?
Yep. I just wanted to point out a couple of things. First of all, it was not anything having to do with agricultural. It's the American Poultry Association. That is not strictly rural. That's anywhere that has chickens. It's really easy to find those guidelines, and I believe we already have in our ordinance requirements in terms of approval for coops. It would not be hard to say, this is the size coop that I'm planning on building, and this is the number of chickens that I want to have as part of your application process. I am not strictly committed to, the only answer is the American Poultry Association guidance, but I do think that it would behoove us to, I think 4 is an unreasonably low number for any community. I personally think, and again, no roosters, because that's just a lot of noise, and as far as I know, other people who have gotten chickens from other places have not had that sort of problem where it's like a 50-50 thing. Most of them come out being hens, but I think it's something that we should take up for our community members sooner rather than later, just due to the cost association with everything right now.
Alder Rostad?
So, who inspects the coop on the initial? Our building inspector used to do it, correct?
It is now the city clerk.
And then,
Designee, was it not?
and I think we're to the point where we as a council or committee of the whole need to decide if we're gonna be in favor of making changes or leave as is. Because we're just kind of spinning our wheels right now, in my opinion. No one's come out and made a blunt or upfront, I want to make it to this. So we need to figure out if we are, as a group, are in favor of, or a majority are in favor of changing. And if we are, we have to have good discussion on what we want to change. And if not, we leave as is and leave it to a different date, my opinion.
Alder Lawson?
I agree. I think if we were going to consider changes, I'd still like to see a cap, a limit of some sort, not just open it up completely. And I could see something very simple where, if it's under an acre, it's 4. If it's over an acre, it's more. it's gotta be, it can't be too complex to manage.
Is this something that we want to decide on direction for Plan Commission or send to Plan Commission for them to review? I haven't heard like any recommendations yet.
Well, we've been hearing a lot of opinions. And we either, as a group, have to decide if, to me, the simplest way, I think I've read over the ordinance several times. I don't see anything wrong with our ordinance. If you wanted to increase the number from 4 to 6, that I have no issue with. But if we're gonna, if the group is looking at going, you can have it for this under an acre or for over, I think then you take it to the Plan Commission. But if everybody is okay with just keeping the ordinance as is and is fine with increasing from 4 to 6, we can do that very simple tonight. And
Alder Reed?
forward
Sorry.
it to the next meeting, so.
Okay, Alder Reed?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I would be fine either way with increasing 4 to 6 and having a little bit of wiggle room, or leaving it 4 and then adding an extra sentence for property size and distance from neighbors.
Just to get a temperature test from council, would you just want to consider changing the number of chickens and keeping it at this level, or adding more wording and sending it to Plan Commission? Anybody have a preference? Alder Meyer?
I mean, I don't care how many chickens somebody has, but we do need to have a cap. The ordinance as it's wrote right now is the cleanest way to provide enforcement through the PD and the city staff. I would be completely against completely rewriting the ordinance and just raising the cap, so.
Alder Lawson?
There's one section in the ordinance I thought we changed the last time we talked about this. It's under C3. The last part there where it talks about bringing it to council, I thought we decided it didn't have to go to council.
That is correct. It has been updated so that
Okay.
once the permitting system goes through
It's just not
and
updated
everything is
online.
checked off, it's right. It's
Yeah.
not online.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alder Wilkie?
I, again, would like to get this done sooner rather than later, so I would be in favor of just changing the cap. I personally don't think 6 is high enough. I would say a minimum of 8. That's where the community that with the highest cap is now, and I personally, like Alder Meyer, don't really care how many people have. I would be comfortable saying a dozen, as long as they're not causing a noise nuisance for the neighbors. That's my opinion on it.
Anyone have a preference on number of chickens to cap at? Otherwise, 8 is on the table. 6 and 8 are on the table. Well, 8's the higher one, so if you don't want 8, let me know. Alder Reed?
Oh, thank you. 8 would be my maximum.
Okay. Alder Rostad?
And I would be in favor of just capping the number and not, if you have 2 acres, you're not allowed more.
Correct.
Just like cut and dry, black and white, so it's easy to figure out. And I'm not gonna voice my on a number.
Yes, to keep it from Plan Commission and to expedite this, we would just need to change the number we're capping at. Anybody else have a preference? Otherwise, we're at 8.
I agree with 8.
Okay. Mayor
I
Haber?
can go with 8.
Okay. All right, it seems like consensus is 8. Do you have everything you need on that? Yes. To the next meeting. Yep, move it forward, yep, to 8, yep.
Sure don't.
Alder Rostad?
Being a, sp- be,
Yes.
well, should we have them take out C3, the council part, since,
That's already been updated.
oh, but just not in our packet?
It's on page, I believe, 18 of the packet.
Page 19 of your,
Oh, I did
page
removal,
19
yeah.
of your
Okay.
packet, and currently, so your process right now is when somebody makes an application, the city clerk has to make sure that items 2 and 3 of paragraph B are in compliance, and then she issues the permit on her own. Doesn't go to council anymore, we took care of that. There are 5 things, that have to be complied with, and then there's one other thing to make sure that it is zoning appropriate for accessory buildings. So those are the things that the city clerk has to look at. In the old days, you had the building inspector go out and do a physical inspection of the run and the coop and the whole 9 yards, and I'm guessing that Susan's not gonna do that. But maybe she is, I don't know, that's up to her.
And
So the bigger concern that I've heard so far is the lack of people renewing their licenses.
correct.
That's a significant problem.
Yes. Alder Austin?
The only other question I do have is, I believe this is my first special cow that has not been pushed to the council meeting the same night we have a special cow. So why is that changed tonight?
I think the intention was that 3, 4, and 5 are supposed to be going to Plan Commission to be discussed further, but I think we're okay with 3 not doing that. And then 6, there's going to be direction that's probably gonna be given, and then the staff will need time to write something up or review. Actually, there might be something already, sorry. But that is usually the intent.
I can agree with most of that. Like 4 and 5, it says under action, that's what they want to do. But 3 says that's not under the action request of council. It's to discuss a potential amendment of the chicken ordinance, which leads me to believe it should have been pushed right to the council tonight, the way it was worded. Obviously, we can't do it due to posting of open meeting and agenda law. I was just looking for clarification. That's all.
Yeah.
Unless it was a typo on the action request of council.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessary that everything that is on COW has to go to the council in the same day. I think a lot of, when it comes to ordinances, and then I don't know, Matt, if you have anything to add, but as it comes to ordinances, there's usually a little bit of work that has to be done.
I think ultimately, could these have been put on? Sure. But I think what we're trying to do with that is when we know or have a feeling on where things are headed, for instance, task orders from Rooker Milky. There's a difference there between an open-ended question on a chicken ordinance and the task order from Rooker Milky on budgeted work that's already been approved as part of the budget process, and it's more of a let's move this through kind of a situation. So, it's good comment. We'll take that into consideration for future agendas.
Anything more on chicken ordinance? Otherwise, it'll come to the next council meeting, and the cap will be raised to 8. All right, number 4, consider and possible action regarding referring ordinance review of 114-95 outdoor storage of vehicles. And this would be looking to, if anybody had any discussion or agreement to refer this to Plan Commission. Alder Meyer.
I'm the one who brought this forward my first week after the election. I think if you just take a quick drive through town, 50% or more of our residents are at a disadvantage of being able to keep a boat in their yard, well, in their driveway. Their driveways are not recessed or off to the side of their house. I can tell you that if I have a boat, I'm not parking it in my yard. I think this is common sense that we send this back to Planning Commission with notes of what we're looking for them to look at.
Anyone else? Otherwise, we'll head back to Plan Commission, or head to Plan Commission. Alder Reed?
Oh, thank you. Sorry, I was gonna go on the vehicle, sorry.
All right. Everybody in agreement, good with this going to Plan Commission? All right. Number 5, consider and possible action regarding referring ordinance review of Chapter 18-571 through 18-580, property maintenance. So this is another one looking for discussion and agreement to send to Plan Commission. Alder Rosted?
What are we trying to address?
My
With this-
understanding on this one was the grass height requirements of currently being 12 inches and concern that that needs to be discussed and reviewed.
That's the only thing, the height of the grass or weed?
Sorry, Mike.
Well, other people can pipe in, but my understanding was that that whole section needed to be reviewed. But that I may have been misunderstood, but I thought that was in addition to the grass, that the entire section, 18-571 through 18-580, that's the property maintenance section. That includes lawn maintenance, litter, and a whole bunch of other things related to
I guess
property maintenance.
the only other question I would have is for chief or anyone in the city staff. Do we have issues? I mean, I know we have issues of violations, but multiple? Minimal?
So which provisions of the chapter 18 specifically talking about those issues that we're talking about big picture? We've never done anything with grass, and I don't plan on it, but it's just like the blighted properties, is that kind of what we're saying?
Well, yeah, I guess that's my question, because I thought blight was already handled. 'Cause that's where I'm a little confused. If we're only talking about the grass height, which was listed in the memo, I don't know why the full section is listed.
We've been dealing with blighted properties, and they're significant ones. We're not splitting hairs, we're not stretching things. We're dealing with properties that need attention, and we try to work with people, and some don't. For us to even get involved, it's gotta be substantial and really a blight.
Attorney Johnson, do you have something to add to this, or are you getting in line?
I'm getting in line.
Okay. Alder Reed?
Thank you. Yeah, so I'm just wondering, are we specifically just sending it for having the 12-inch grass reduced to a number? And do we have a number in mind that we're aiming for? Because I didn't think it was a general blight question at this point for review.
Does anybody have an answer to that? It seems like no. Seems like there's some unknowns here.
Well, I will share that this was discussed in terms of the lawn height, and that's why I put it on here. I was gone last week, and so I'm not sure if there were other discussions that occurred as a result.
All right, Mayor Hammer.
I've heard several comments from several citizens that they would like to see the lawn height change. No mow may obviously is one of the things that really gets people upset. And quite frankly, no mow may actually has the opposite effect of saving the bees. Because the bees get down into the long grass to get to the dandelions or whatever, and they can't make it back out. So, and actual study on that, and the actual organizer of No Mo May came out and said that that was a bad idea. So, you live in a city, you have a responsibility to your neighbors, and to your own property to maintain it. The longer the grass, the more that makes it out into the road, the more grass that then makes it down into our storm sewer system, and hence it increases the flooding that can take place in a hard rain. So long lengthwise, 12 inches is way too much. I know, if somebody's on a vacation or whatever, it can get, to 6 inches or so. I guess I wouldn't necessarily see, I think 6 inches could be a good allowable number. But that's part of the reason that this is on here, is that there has been several comments from citizens. And a lot of it is because, their neighbors and others around town are not maintaining their lawns.
Alder Lawson?
One of the responsibilities of the CDA is to carry out blight elimination. So as a member of CDA, I'd be curious to hear more from the chief at some point about how that process is going, and if there are areas that, based upon experiences recently, that we may need to rewrite or to assist with enforcing, or other concerns where you think it may need to be more relaxed.
Alder Meyer?
I'll join Alder Lawson in that. As being on CDA, I agree 100% with what he just said. I'd like to hear the experiences from the chief and his department. I'm 100% in favor of changing the lawn height. I think 12 inches is absolutely ridiculous. But at the same point, the property maintenance, I am completely against revising that, and want to make it very clear that I support all efforts that the PD is doing to enforce the property maintenance. So my understanding is that this is specifically in regards to the lawn height. And I fully support a change on that.
Attorney Johnson?
Hi. So you have two completely different issues here that you're bantering back and forth about. The grass length is something that is set by ordinance, and the council should decide what height that should be. 12 inches, in my mind, is way too high. But once that's decided, that issue usually doesn't get to law enforcement, or it doesn't get to my desk. It usually is handled by DPW, who sends out a notice that says your lawn is too high and you've got X amount of days to mow it, and if you don't, we're gonna do it for you. So that issue kind of takes care of itself as far as the enforcement goes, but the height is the important part there. The property maintenance issue itself has been a back and forth for the city of Columbus since I have been here. Some councils wanting very strict enforcement of, you have a bad paint job, your shutters are falling off, your driveway's cracked, and some not wanting to go down that road. The issue there is law enforcement time, lots of it. My time, lots of it, and lots of expense in actually enforcing it. And every time it comes up where we pursue a homeowner who has a dilapidated property of some way, shape, or form, that homeowner always points, well, look at this guy down the street. Look at this guy down the street. And it's not a legitimate defense, but it is. So the city basically does a complaint-based enforcement. If somebody makes a complaint about a particular residence, then the police will start working with the person, hopefully with the goal of getting compliance at some point in time. And it takes a while. And if they actually reach my desk, which sometimes they do, I follow the same path where I'm not out prosecuting citations and collecting money. I'm saying, here, I'm gonna give you 6 months to get this done and this done and this done, and when they do, we dismiss the citations. So that's how we've been handling it so far. Property maintenance is a very, very, very big money hole if you want it to be, but it can also be enforced to the extent that you want to enforce it. So if you're talking about buildings and structures and things like that, that's your issue. If you're talking about grass, that's a lot easier.
Alder Rosted?
So yeah, I think the section, from what I gather, is 18578, lawn and yard maintenance, where that's where the 12-inch thing comes in, if we lower it, if they're not mowing it at 12, they're not going to mow it at 6. We're not going to conquer anything by lowering the limit. You
Sure
make
you
more
do.
work for DPW. There's still, the people that are in violation are going to be in violation if it's 12, 14, 16, or 2 inches. They don't take care of their yard. So I think, in my opinion, it's a mute issue. If you want to lower it to 6, we have city property right now in violation. When I came to the meeting tonight. So we got to be careful what we wish for when it comes to setting lawn height. DPW gets busy. They can't keep up. We're in violation. We should not be putting ourselves in violation and then expect the residents to comply when we're not complying.
Any other comments or discussion? All right. What is the majority in favor of 6 inches or not taking this on at all right now or sending to Plan Commission? We have a few different options. I'm also thinking we could knock down inches to 6 and then send the property maintenance section of Chapter 18 to Plan Commission to be looked at further. So, Alder Reed?
Thank you. I would prefer listing it as 8 inches, just giving people a little bit of wiggle room for vacations, illness, what have you. And for some reason, when I Googled lawn height limits Columbus, 8 inches popped up, which isn't right. It's very odd. Under AI, that's
Oh,
what it
yeah.
says, yeah.
That's not always right.
Yeah.
Matt?
I think one of the things I heard and what we want to make sure that we get is the chief and Mike work on a presentation to CDA on current blight efforts and update CDA on those efforts. I think that's good. I think the other thing here that Mike writes in his memo, and again, the zoning rewrite, I think everybody thinks that that's going to be the magic fix-all. Well, this is a chapter that isn't part of the zoning rewrite. So if there is interest in having it looked at, referring it to the Plan Commission could make some sense. And I guess I'll leave it at that.
Alder Wilkie?
I agree with Alder Reed that I don't think 6 is necessarily the right number. I think 8 is a little more friendly, but I also think that this should go to Plan Commission in its entirety for discussion.
Alder Lawson?
I don't think we should make a change at this point. I think starting with the chief discussing with CDA would be a good place to see if there are other areas that there might need to be a rewrite, and then those be pushed to Plan Commission.
So are we, okay, so I think where I'm getting things crossed here is we're talking about blight and height of grass, 2 different things here. The agenda item is specific to reference to grass, but is blight included? If blight is included, we're talking about CDA and Plan Commission, 2 different.
What's chapter 18, 571 through 580? And that's property maintenance. I know I'm talking out of order, but property maintenance is listed through this one I just read off.
Alder Meyer? I think you're next.
I got a couple things. Is the property maintenance, Matt, is the property maintenance section of this covered in the zoning rewrite?
No.
No, the memo says that this chapter 18 would not be part of the zone, it's not part of the zoning
Okay.
code and not be part of the zoning rewrite.
Okay, so here's my 2 cents. The blight needs to go to CDA. CDA is in charge of blight. If we want to set a cap on 8 inches for lawn height, we can do that, but I also think that we need to send it back to Planning Commission on that section of it. We need to separate these two, right?
Yes.
They're not the same. Lawn height is not blight. Technically, it could be, but it's not the blight that we're enforcing. You heard it from the chief. He's not going around giving warnings about lawn height. So we need to separate them. So we need to set, my suggestion is we send the blight to CDA, the property maintenance side of it, pending Chief Weiner's presentation or whatever we ended up doing with there. And then we send the lawn section of this to Planning Commission with what our potential recommendation would be of 8 inches, if that's what we all agree on. I'm in favor of 6, but I would go for 8. We're sitting here kicking a can around that needs to go in 2 different directions, so.
Alder Rusted?
I'll agree. I'll agree to split it, CDA and Planning Commission, but I'll jump on with Alder Lawson that we don't make a change on the lawn height. Let the Planning Commission do their thing, come back and give a presentation to us or how they want to do it, and then we have a discussion at that point on the height.
Anybody have any concerns with blight going to CDA and lawn height going to Plan Commission? All right. Next, number 6, discussion of electronic cigarettes and vaping ordinance. Who's taking this one? Is that you, Chief?
See the button. There we go. All right. Good evening. This will be pretty short and sweet. Before you is, we'll call it what it is, the vaping ordinance, the electronic cigarette ordinance. What I want to say to start off, what this is not. This is not some way they're going to be handing out a bunch more tickets or, some shakedown of those that vape. What this is it allows us to more efficiently and accurately deal with the ones that we do deal with. And I think I've talked to Attorney Johnson about this many times, and I think he'll be in agreement. Our current way of doing it is a little inefficient. We're writing under some ordinances that may be a little bit of, I don't want to say a stretch, but it's not like hitting the nail squarely on the head where this is. And when the ordinance book was written, whenever it was, vaping was probably not even thought of back then, but now it's very, very common. We're dealing with a lot of kids with vape pens. You can buy illegal cartridges with illegal contents in them online, black market, those types of means to get, we're seeing a lot of THC of illegal content percentages amongst the kids. The schools are seeing vape pens and addressing them that way. So all this really is just giving us a black and white, nail on the head ordinance to continue to do what we do, how we do it. There's not going to be any more citations written as a result of adopting this ordinance. It just makes it much more efficient what we have done in the past and directing it to a specific electronic cigarette ordinance versus whether it be if we encompassed it under, if it was a vape cartridge with nicotine and we rope that into possession of a smoking material, those types of things. This allows us to address vaping very solidly. Do you agree, Attorney Johnson? I do. It's nothing new. Again, this is not going to increase the amount of tickets. It's going to let us do something more cleaner.
All right. Alder Meyer?
Reading through this, Attorney Johnson, I don't see a penalty in the penalty section for those who are caught selling to people under the age of 21. Is that encompassed anywhere else in any other decision or ordinance that we have, for one? And for two, I mean, if they're selling underage, I wouldn't have a problem with the citations going up.
If it's not in there, I can amend it and bring it back for the next meeting. This is a copy of an area ordinance that I just tailored to Columbus's needs.
I just didn't know if we have a vape shop, a gas station that's selling to somebody under the age of 21,
Sure.
I think we should, it's just as illegal as alcohol at this point. It should probably be enforced the same way. Then it gives you a little bit of extra grip to deal with
I
it.
can clean that up very easily.
We just need to add sub G to the penalty section in sub I.
Are you done, Alder Meyer?
Right.
Alder Rusted?
I would agree. I did notice that as well. The only thing I would ask is that you increase the penalty. I think merely $20 is a slap on the wrist. 50.
Well, the $20, it's written that way because that's the base amount. And then all the
Okay.
court costs get written on. So that $20 goes up to like 98 something for the first
Okay,
offense.
so this is just
The base, they call it the deposit amount, and then you get court costs, crime fee, there's a
Yep.
whole column of other numbers that go into it, and yeah, it is very misleading, I agree.
Okay. Thanks for clarifying.
Alder Lawson?
So why the different amounts? There's some.
School and non-school property.
Okay, and why are we singling out schools differently? I mean, F looks like it's already covered by E.
I guess what we wanted to cover in the schools was obviously because, you know, we want the school to be a safe environment. And if it's the school, it could be, you know, it most likely would be a children's. So we want the higher fines to serve as a deterrent. But if there's something here I need to clean up too, that's very simple.
Yeah, I would recommend just removing F. You're already covered with anyone under 21 under E, and then not having a separate level of penalty, just having one level of penalty for those violations, and maybe a separate level for someone that's selling to someone under 21.
Alder Meyer?
I would disagree with Alder Lawson. I think there needs to be an enhancer to prevent the children from taking these to school. I mean, our schools deal with enough the way it is with children and some of the stuff that happens within our schools. I'm 100% in favor of keeping it and being able to use it as an enhancer to deter from these even making it into the building.
Alder Reed?
Thank you. I also am really adamant about having the different levels for the different placements. I definitely want to have a little bit more of a hammer for school violation.
Alder Lawson?
I'm definitely not for that at all. I mean, I think that the kids that are violating that they're already getting an enhanced penalty because they possibly are getting disciplined by the school as well, in addition to the fine. I think that's sufficient considering they could be expelled.
Did you wanna? You look like you're thinking.
I'm thinking about it, but
Alder
yeah,
Rolke?
I actually agree with Alder Lawson. I think that we are the city council, not the school board, and the school board has their own way that they're handling these things. I think one tier for violators and one tier for people who are selling underage is what I would be interested in as well.
Alder Meyer?
I'm going to go back to, this is no different than possession of THC in a school zone. There's an enhancer associated with that. I mean, you said it absolutely correct. School board does their business, we do our business. Our business is to set the citations, the enhancers, things of that nature. And, I mean, if there's an enhancer of drinking in school, there's an enhancer for marijuana in school, why would we not have an enhancer on underage tobacco or electronic smoking device at this point?
We have 2 for and 2 and against the enhancer for school. Alder Rustad or Mayor Hammer, do you guys have an opinion?
Yeah, just listening to both opinions on that, but I side with keeping F in there.
Alder Rustad?
I say that we move it forward to the council tonight.
Okay. We can't move it tonight, it's not on the agenda, but we can move it to the next council meeting. It sounds like the majority, sorry, Alder Meyer?
I wish we could move it to the council tonight. I want to make sure that the amendment that was brought up on enforcement for sales, is in
So
there.
clarify for me what I need to do for the final version, then bring it back. Talked about a lot
I
in the
mean,
last
I
couple
think,
minutes.
I think it was, I don't know. I'm not gonna give the final, that's Molly's job. But what I suggested was the enforcement on the shops that sell these
Okay.
vaping devices, the ability to enforce. I mean, they're gonna keep selling it to the kids if they don't face any repercussions.
Anybody with, Attorney Johnson?
So what I've heard is we need to add paragraph G to the penalty section. And then we should try to focus on one set of penalties for violators, one set of penalties for sellers, with or without an enhancement if it happens on school grounds. That's what I've heard so far.
Alder Meyer?
I think you have it correct. I mean, I
Okay.
think it was 4-2 to support section F to remain in the ordinance.
We'll put the enhancer in there, and then you can see what it looks like, and you can vote on it at the next time.
Okay. Everybody good with this, moving on to next council? All right,
Thank you.
thank you, chief. All right, and that is all. I'll look for a motion to
Motion
adjourn.
to adjourn.
Second.
All right, Alder Rolke and Alder Rolke as the first, Alder Meyer as the second. Anyone in favor? Everyone in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, meeting adjourned. 5-minute break? It's amazing how. Yeah, I almost was like, I.
Buddy, if we can, okay, everybody. Yes, who was whistling that before? That was you? All right, everybody, let's get started on the regular common council meeting of Tuesday, May 6th, 2025. Welcome to those that are watching on cable. And could I have a roll call, please?
Finkler.
Here.
Hammer.
Here.
Lawson.
Here.
Meyer.
Here.
Reed.
Here.
Relke.
Here.
Rostad.
Here.
Okay, join me with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I acknowledge this meeting was posted and noticed according to law.
All right, thank you very much. Looking for a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
So move.
Second.
Okay, motion by Alder Rostad, second by Alder Meyer. Any discussion on the agenda? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, public comment. Do we have anybody? Okay, we have Jackson Friedrich. If you could state your name again and then your address and then the topic. And you have 3 minutes. And then there's a face with some like 3 squiggly lines. Yeah, there you go.
Hello, my name is Jackson Friedrich. My address is 125 West James Street, Apartment 1, Columbus, Wisconsin. I'm here today to talk about the importance of rural public transportation and a potential plan for how we could implement that here in Columbus. I'm getting my notes up. There we go. Lack of access to transportation limits options for jobs, places to live, and access to medical appointments. I've personally known several people who've suffered from a lack of accessible transportation for them. and it's a problem that we could solve relatively easily here in Columbus. We already have infrastructure available. We have a Amtrak station that's currently used as a bus stop for 2 shuttles per day going downtown for the people getting off the Amtrak station. And we're also about a 20-minute drive away from the Sun Prairie Park and Ride. This is typically where I leave my car anytime I'm going to Madison because it's hard to find parking, you know? If a single bus line that ran regularly from here in Columbus at the Amtrak station to the Sun Prairie Park and Ride could attach us to both the Sun Prairie and the Madison public transit system. This would be relatively affordable and easy to implement, right? And I also like to say that these types of services are exactly what governments are supposed to be providing to its citizens. There's no reason that in the wealthiest nation that's ever existed on the face of the planet that anyone should be suffering from a lack of access to transportation. Thank you. That's all I've got to say.
All right. Thank you very much. There we go. Okay, and is there anybody else that would like to speak that didn't get a chance to speak? Okay, and then we would move on to consent agenda, and that is the Common Council minutes of April 15th of 2025, the mayoral appointments, and the temporary Class B beer and Class B wine alcohol licenses.
Alder Rolke will move to approve tonight's consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, motion by Alder Rolke, second by Alder Meyer. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. Okay, next is the new business, is to consider and take action on the temporary limited easement agreement with Zachary, is it Frieder or Frater? Frater and Tanya Frater. And Matt, if you could initially speak on this.
The property owners are in agreement on the temporary limited easement. The one thing that I'm recommending after discussion with them and discussion with our public works staff is that we eliminate keep the sidewalk free of snow and ice. We are already there removing snow, and now I understand why and understand why it makes sense for the city to continue to clear that snow. So just asking you to approve while striking that.
Okay, so we'd look for a motion to approve the temporary limited easement.
I'll move to approve the temporary limited easement with removal of the snow removal.
Riedel seconds.
Okay, motion by Alder Finkler, second by Alder Reed. And then discussion, Alder Meyer.
I totally want to see this go through. I'm not voting yes to this with a 4-inch requirement to the grass. We have ordinances that drive this within the city. We literally just sent it back to the planning commission. I think it needs to follow the ordinance. They could have to keep their whole yard at 4 inches. The neighbor can grow 12-inch grass. It needs to be striped for me to vote yes at this point. Otherwise, I'm totally in favor of this. But we shouldn't be creating unfair and unrealistic expectations for one set of residents in the entire city.
I'll amend my motion to approve the temporary limited easement agreement with the removal of the snow removal and the grass height to match ordinance.
Do you need another second?
I'll re-second.
Okay, we have the amended motion and second. Any other further discussion? Alder Rosted, sorry.
So the only question I have is, there are trees on that property that are in memory of a individual from the St. Jerome School, a child, I believe. I had pictures on my phone and I can't find them for the dates. I guess there's nothing in 1 through 7 in the agreement that restricts herbicide. I don't know what current city practices are for DPW allowing herbicide on city property. I just don't want the homeowner to have something happen, or they don't want weeds and they spread something and something happens to the trees and they get the blame pushed on them. I would even take it a step farther, and this has been going on since 2016 and now it's an issue. I would I would allow the city to maintain the grass if the homeowner wants to mow 2 passes or 3 passes around their garden to keep the grass out so the city doesn't blow into the garden. I'm in favor of that, but just to alleviate any possible issue to be pushed back on the homeowner on that property, I would be in favor of striking all 4. That's just my opinion, to try to protect the homeowner as well. Shall something happen to any of the city trees on that property, or the trees that were donated by the family of the St. Jerome individual?
Is there any other further discussion on this? Okay, we have a motion presented to us. Hearing no further comment. Oh, no, okay. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Motion passes.
So just as a clarification here, we'll update the agreement and then get a signed copy with the property owners.
Correct. All right, very good. Thank you. All right. Then next is to consider in possible action regarding the authorization of the mayor and the clerk to execute the contract with Vanderwall and Associates for the zoning and subdivision rewrite ordinance.
I will move to approve the authorization of the mayor and clerk to execute the contract with Vanderwall and Associates for the zoning and subdivision rewrite ordinance.
A second.
Okay, motion by Alder Finkler, second by Alder Lawson. Discussion? Alder Meyer?
When we say execute, what exactly are we executing? It wasn't involved in the original discussions around this.
It's basically signing the agreement that the past council voted to.
Has already been
proceed.
approved, it's just
Yeah,
the
it just-
signatures.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a technicality that with future situations like this, we're going to ask that the council authorize the mayor to sign the contract at the time that it's ready, pending city attorney review. So.
Makes sense to me.
Alder Rasted.
I was gonna say, yeah, because we already approved the dollar amount, so
Right.
seems foolish to come back for 2 signatures when the dollar amount's already approved.
So. Right. So we have the motion and the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. And then next is to consider and take action on the claims in the amount of $594,949.06.
Make a motion to pay the claims in the amount of $594,949.06.
Alder Rolke will second.
Okay, motion by Alder Rasted, second by Alder Rolke. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Lawson.
Aye.
Rostad.
Aye.
Reed.
Aye.
Finkler.
Aye.
Relke.
Aye.
Meyer.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
All right. Reports of city officers?
I have nothing this evening.
And I have nothing either, so sweet and to the point. Okay, I would then look for a motion to convene to close session per 19.851E, deliberating or negotiating the purchase of public properties, the investments of public funds, or conducting other public business, whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, specifically to discuss 1149 West James Street.
Motion to move to closed session per 19.85 parent 1 parent E as stated in the packet.
Second.
Okay, motion by Alder Rosted, second by Alder Meyer. Discussion, roll call, please.
Meyer.
Aye.
Lawson.
Aye.
Relke. Aye. Finkler.
Aye.
Rosted.
Aye.
Reed. Aye. Ayes have it.
Okay, we are in closed session.